that boy Israel Folau is in the news again, for starters. It looks like he's going to be sacked by the Australian Rugby Union for a post on Instagram in which he denounced homosexuality, among other things. Obviously, he's got previous in this department. Just to start with, parts of the statement that was released by the Rugby Australia CEO Raylene Castle and also the New South Wales Rugby Union CEO Andrew Hoare. It says Rugby Australia and the New South Wales Rugby Union have made repeated attempts to contact Israel both directly and via his representatives since 6:30 p.m. on Wednesday, and at this point he has failed to communicate directly with either organisation. It goes on to say Israel has failed to understand that the expectation of him as a Rugby Australia and New South Wales Waratahs employees that he cannot share material on social media that condemns, vilifies or discriminates against people on the basis of their sexuality. It mentions that as a code we have made it clear to Israel formally and repeatedly that any social media posts or commentary that is disrespectful will result in disciplinary action. And also says, and this is the kicker really, in the absence of compelling mitigating factors, it is our intention to terminate his contract. This is pretty insane, Murray.
Yeah, it's pretty sensational stuff. I mean, a guy that many would argue is the best rugby player in the world and probably key to Australia's hopes in the World Cup this year, seemingly now going to be out of the picture completely. For me, it's a really strong and the right decision from Rugby Australia. I really did not expect this, certainly so swiftly. And it's kind of incredible the fact that they haven't been able to get in touch with him. Either through the Waratahs or through the Australian national team coaches or anyone hasn't been able to get their hands on them. I just see now actually Rugby Players Australia have put out a statement saying that while they don't endorse or condone Folau's posts, they say it's imperative that the proper process is followed under the code of conduct, obviously in regards to contracts. So I think this one is going to roll on a little bit. The intention is to sack him, and I think that would be a decision, if followed through upon, would be strongly supported. The condemnation of his posts has been really widespread, and he's had, as you mentioned before, he's had an opportunity, and they put it in his latest contract that he can't put this kind of stuff up on the internet, whatever his beliefs are. So yeah, I don't think this is the end of it. I think we're in for a bit of a saga here, but I'd congratulate Rugby Australia on making a strong move.
Yeah, it's going to be a difficult one for them to roll back on, Bernard, if they are going to do that. And it just seems unlikely on the basis that even when they mention mitigating factors, those factors have to be compelling in order for them to make any decision which results in him remaining in contract with them.
Absolutely. I think, I commend the Australian Rugby Union and the Waratahs for the really strong leadership they've shown. So often we see organisation or government bodies fudge around this, and it's interesting, the Rugby Players Australia saying, oh, it has to go through process, and that process will be official hearings, the HR process, which could take a while. But the reality is I don't think there's any way back from this. I mean, what mitigating circumstances realistically can come up? He's had past experience of stepping out of line on this. He's been there's been a clause put in his contract warning him about future issues, and I just think it's a really strong statement. Best player in the world or not, you've got to have better morals and better values and stick to adhere to the rules. And he's blatantly gone against the grain. So I think he'll be gone. It'll take a while probably, but I can't see how he can play for Australia in the World Cup, given what he's done.
Yeah. And would some of his teammates want to play with him? David Pocock has kind of accepted him back into the group, someone who has really strong beliefs and would absolutely hate this kind of hate speech from Folau, but now would his teammates want him back in?
Well, listen, Pocock is probably an exception, that he's willing to speak openly about his views and his frustrations with Israel in the past, etc. But the majority of players wouldn't want him, but they will never come out and say it. So that's why I think it's great that the governing body and the leadership have taken the stand, because it's very difficult as a player in a dressing room to isolate another player and really be forthright with your views, especially someone like him who's such a star and potentially is a strong personality. But I think I don't think the players would want to play with him, but also I think it's better that I said the management look after internal discipline and uphold the values of the game, which he's completely ignoring and acting against. do
you really think the players wouldn't want to play with him?
I don't think so.
Even if they strongly disagree with the views?
No, I think it's too much. I think the players will respect his right to have his own views, but I mean the problem is he's got massive influence, potential influence over people across the world because of the fact he's a very good rugby player, and that's unfortunate. Doesn't mean he knows the right and wrong, but he could potentially influence people who are at the stage of making their own mind up around what's right and wrong, and that's. That would be for me the big issue, and I think players wouldn't want to play with him. No, because it's not right the way the stuff he's promoting.
Yeah, it will roll on as you mentioned, and it will come back to one of those sort of themes that's quite prevalent, and it'll be rolled out in the media about free speech and what you can say, and we can't say anything anymore, and he's entitled to his beliefs and all of that kind of stuff that we hear constantly. But like free speech entitles you to say what you want. It doesn't entitle you to escape the consequences of what you say. Like by definition, free speech entitles somebody else to think you're an absolute melon for having that opinion. You can say that yes, there's religious beliefs. Cool, they're warped. Some religious beliefs are just not right. Like not everything is correct. They're still right and wrong. It's just this fascinating thing that people believe because of free speech you can just be impervious to any criticism. It doesn't work that way. And also it's in his contract that he can't do this. Like the statement from Australia says they've warned him formally and repeatedly. In any other walk of life, if I walked into this office and started spouting hate speech or anything like that, maybe there'd be a warning first. But if I did it again, I'd be out the door.
Yeah.
He's an employee.
Yeah, and like regardless of your religious beliefs, his comments, they're actually dangerous. That kind of level of homophobia from someone who is such a big role model and such a powerful presence in Australian sport across the board. He's been in 3 professional sports. It's just dangerous,
Well, also you will see him described in various media outlets as a devout Christian or harbouring devout Christian beliefs. That's not a part of Christianity, or at least most strands of it. Like you'd think if God hated gay people, he might have included in his top 10 things not to do list, don't be gay, but instead he was kind of more concerned about his own name than being sound to your neighbour. Like it's just a warped view.
Yeah, and I think most people are in agreement that obviously there are going to be some who disagree and feel, listen, he's just expressing his views, whatever. You have to kind of question what the hell is he doing here, and why has he been quiet since? Why is he uncontactable? Why isn't he trying to fight for his contract, knowing that he was breaking those rules? And you kind of wonder what's going to happen next with him. Is he trying to get out of his contract? Why is he so clearly broken the rules that they set out for him?
You wouldn't know what the background is. I think he knew. He's got a team of advisors around him. He knew when he put that tweet up, there was going to be very, very touch and go whether he survived. So potentially there's more to this than meets the eye. Potentially there's a rugby league contract, but maybe he wants to have a go at NFL. Like who knows? That'll all come out. But I don't think it's just. He did that and didn't understand the consequences of it. If ARU and the Waratahs, have issued him with the warnings and the clarity around what he can and can't do, he had to have known that this was going to test the validity of his contract, and potentially he doesn't care. He's going to give up being a professional athlete, but someone like him, unfortunately, might be in high demand in other places.
Well, that's the thing. It could work out in his favour financially.
Absolutely.
You could wind up.
Yeah, but who cares? Listen. I still think you can't have the argument. We're not going to release him from his contract because we don't want him to benefit financially. You just got to say, okay, what's the right and wrong thing to do here? The wrong thing to do is keep him, have him playing the World Cup and still part of our game. The right thing to do is cut him loose and best luck to him. Let someone else worry about him.
Oh well, like the Wallabies have made the right decision. Now it's up to somebody else to make the right decision as well. Their own right decision.
Yeah, they won't, and that might happen. You look at. There's been a lot of issues in NRL, Australian Rugby League, around discipline, around poor behaviour, and the talented athletes always get taken back. The average Joes get put on the scrap heap, but he's someone who can win games for clubs. So it's up to the coaches and the boards of those clubs to decide whether they want to carry that baggage with them for the sake of results, and we'll see what happens.